Welcome to an Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. Super cool movers and shakers today. That's right. It's Tiidal Gaming Group. You can read all about them with our friend Galen, who's sitting next to me over here in the basement. And you can also hear from them and their CEO, Tom Hearn, with our Jody Vance. Upstairs is Vishal and Frozen Man in the far corner, who's probably going to invest a lot of money. I have a funny feeling. They're based in Toronto. They're on the Canadian Exchange, and they are TIDL, fittingly enough. Although their name, Tiidal Gaming Group, has two I's in it, doesn't it,
That is
Galen?
correct. That is
Yeah.
correct.
And you
That's
wrote all about them.
yeah, I do. I do. Title Gaming Group came on the market, I guess you could say, as a multifaceted esports media conglomeration. I guess you could say that they were wanting to be owners and operators of all sorts of different assets and properties within the esports sector that were, fed into each other and such. So as it sort of came out in the wash as they started, it was a company of two different particular offerings. One was its Lazurus Esports team, which is a highly rated team. I think it's 8th in Canada, 26th in the world. It's Canada's, or sorry, 8th in North America, I apologize, and 26th in the world, I believe. And it's one of Canada's top earning esports teams. So they had that asset. Then they also had something that they called their technology division, which was a company or a subsidiary, wholly owned subsidiary called Sportsflare. Now, Sportsflare was kind of like the back end to the esports experience. This provided data collection, odds making, and basically betting and other types of iGaming, and it was really the technological infrastructure. What's neat with esports betting is that it's much different than traditional sports betting. Sports betting, in the traditional sense, is based on a few parameters, and you have a relatively limited way that you can, even though that's sort of opening its doors to other ways that you can do it, but you have a relatively limited way of betting on your sports teams. There's only so many things you can bet on. But with
Yep.
esports, the possibilities are nearly limitless.
Mm-hmm.
So this platform provides you the ability with its different offerings. For instance, there's something called Esports Bet Builder, which allows you to get into same game parlay betting, meaning that you can create an outcome of your own choosing and find somebody else to match that bet on the other side, and then you can bet on it. Look at you go. You can also bet on
Yep.
yourself. You could also
Yep.
create different types of bets just for shits and giggles, if you like. And also, esports odds is another offering they have, which, because up until now, regular sports has odds collectors all over the planet. Everybody has the odds on the Seattle Seahawks or the Dallas Cowboys. Those odds are pretty well out in the open. But esports is a whole new environment, and the odds, to a certain extent, aren't really out there. If they are, they need to be collated and put together and examined and turned into something that's useful for people that are either gauging the success or the failure of these certain teams or betting on the success and failure. And Sportsflare is the one that offers this. Now, here is a very quick sort of statement. Title, unfortunately, because of its involvement with the esports edition as well as the technological side, I think became a little bit not distracted, but there's a lot under the hood, and it's very difficult to keep that machine running. Combine this with the idea that esports teams and running them is kind of like professional sports teams ownership and operation. It's kind of a labor of love. It's not necessarily a money-making proposition. And not that Lazarus is a bad thing, but it's very difficult to maintain that enterprise as a revenue and profit generating
Yep.
sector that's regular, that you can count on. And you're also dealing with kids who's very much used to dealing with high school and not really much of the professional world outside of it. So also very difficult to deal with it. You thought professional athletes were hard to deal with. Try dealing with a 15-year-old. All right, so what they have done just recently, they announced at the end of August that they are divesting themselves of their esports asset, which would be the Lazarus team, and they're focusing solely on Sportsflare, which I think is absolutely phenomenal business choice for them, because
Yep.
Sportsflare is not just an offering that only Title, well, actually they're changing their name. Now it's
Yep.
no longer going to be the title with the two eyes. They're actually reverting to Sportsflare, just so there's no confusion. Hasn't happened yet.
Also not a bad idea.
Yeah, also not a bad idea. It hasn't happened yet, but is due to happen at their next AGM, I believe. Correct, Vishal?
Yes, sir. And sometime in quarter 4 this year.
Yeah, there you go. So the nice thing about Sportsflare is it's agnostic. This means they can provide services to everybody without having to worry about a singular product and competing with that and marketing that and having, success and failure depend on one thing. They can actually cover their bases. And so far with the deals that they've been doing just that. We're still in the early stages, but it's actually coming along nicely.
Very cool. Yeah, I think the Sportsflare makes more sense than title with two eyes. I mean, why confuse people, right?
Absolutely.
Right? TIDL is the symbol, which is fine. TIDL makes sense on the Canadian exchange, but Sportsflare is a nice way to go.
Yeah.
Mr. Vishal Turo will now compartmentalize his thoughts and the charts and how this puppy's doing.
Yeah, for sure, Rob. And, great information there from Galen. And, I think we've talked about this in a previous roundtable about title. Like, we really, really like that bet on yourself, aspect of Sportsflare. It's very unique. And, there's so many ways you can apply it, right? You can do it. You can bet with your friends, if you guys are like that. Trust me, my group of buddies, I'm probably the only one that doesn't like to bet on things, but my group of friends are always on their phones betting on something, sports now, NFL, right? But also, I like the whole idea of using the whole bet on yourself aspect as a way to sort of train yourself to be a better, let's say, an esports player, right? Esports is huge now. Galen mentioned, a lot of these younger, I don't know, do you call them athletes or?
Well, yeah, sure, absolutely. Why not?
Right?
Why not?
Sort of
in their own rights.
Right? So,
athletic fingers.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So these guys, they in a way they train a lot, right? They're playing video games hours on the day, right? Like they have to as Rob said, train your fingers, but just they have to be really quick, have really good
hand-eye coordination.
Yep, hand-eye coordination, all that kind of stuff. And I think that whole betting on yourself, trying to place goals for yourself while you're playing a game, right? Like saying, I'm going to make it to the top 10 of this game, have these many kills, etc. I think there's an opportunity there for professional, esport players to use this as some sort of training. And I know, most of you guys are just going to say, oh no, you can just play video games like that. But I think sometimes it's good to sort of have these goals and, have a bit of an incentive too. So I think that technology is very, very unique. When we look at the technical charts here, Title, has been in this downtrend, through summer. However, starting in August up to present day, we've just basically begun, and I'll box that out for you guys, but we've just basically begun to, do a range, right? And you guys are familiar with that term, a range, where, after a downtrend, the stock, rather than continuing lower, it just begins to jump up and down in this rectangle box where you have your support or your price floor. In this case, that's at 7 cents. And then you have your resistance or your price ceiling, which I would put around 12 cents to 12.5 cents here to the upside. And I think it's interesting that, we've had this range. We had this bounce in early September. And sure, there was a few days, where we had big red draws. But when you look at the overall global equity markets, I think, something like Title actually did withstand quite well in recent price action, where it's just maintained this range where many stocks just collapsed, right? Cratered. So what I see with this range is usually a signal that that selling pressure has exhausted, right? That a lot of the sellers are now gone. The stock is now beginning to just, base and find new buyers, less sellers. And the idea is the stock now needs that little push, right? We like to call it a catalyst, obviously, but it just needs that catalyst, and obviously the technicals can help. In this case, bounces off of 7 cents as support are great. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see a break below 7 cents. But if you're someone that wants to see the stock start to rip higher, or sustain momentum higher. You want to see that close above 12 cents. And I've drawn some lines here, but you guys can read about that on my technical report. Basically, just watch this trend line here. But I think if you close above that, that's an even bullish sign, because now the downtrend is technically over. So going forward, it's all about what could be that catalyst to give us a breakout of the stock here, right? And Galen mentioned earlier about the whole, restructuring, I guess, going to rebrand to Sportsflare, this whole new strategic review and strategic direction for the company. And I think in Q4, that could be something that would be a catalyst. Perhaps the market will start to pay attention and let us know basically that they really like this new strategic direction that Tiidal, or I guess Sportsflare, is heading towards. And then I think there's a second catalyst. We have talked about this, I think, in the previous shows, but it's Ontario. So a few months ago, Tiidal Gaming, they submitted an application to become a regulated gaming-related supplier in Ontario, Canada. Of course, a lot of people know that Ontario basically, I think they legalized
they did in April,
and
basically the market is estimated 800 million Canadian. It's a big market.
There we go. Yep. So it's a big market, and I think obviously once that license comes through, right now they've applied to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario to obtain the gaming-related supplier and manufacturer's license, which will enable Sportsflare, again the technology division of the company, but perhaps soon to be the name of the company. Approved sportsbook with its AI-powered esports betting solution. So that's going to be huge, and I think something like that could be that catalyst to get us bouncing from these lows here at 7 cents and give us that breakout. So as of now, price is ranging, and it's happening at, I think, a time where you're seeing global markets fall. The stock is holding up quite well, but it just needs that catalyst to drive us forward. And I think those are the two catalysts. Either one of those that I would be watching heading towards Q4.
So you can read about the company from Galen. You can read the text from Michelle. You can watch Tom Hearn speaking with Jody Vance. Lots going on the site as it relates to Tiidal Gaming. But right now, the pressure is on the fellers in terms of, will you spend any or all or part or none of the $7,500 that I've thrown your way?
Okay.
Or are you just going to take me out to lunch?
For $7,500, where the hell are we going? All right. For me, this is it's a difficult decision. I like what the business proposition is now. I wasn't so confident about it before. Doesn't mean it would never have worked. It's just, for me, it felt a little bit split, a little bit, yeah. So right now, focused on this. I like the idea that it's agnostic, back end, no competition. There is competition, but this is, it doesn't set you up as a singular player within the industry. Yeah. And also, gambling is a rather anti-fragile process, meaning that the worse things get, as the world economy teeters on another rather extensive recession, it doesn't necessarily immediately impact that activity, because people will want to escape. And we've been gambling since before we knew how to write as a species, so we love to gamble. Yep. So it provides a certain out. So there's some good potential there, right? And they're huge markets, multi-billion markets that are billion-dollar markets that are expected to expand even more so as internet gaming becomes more and more prevalent. The key here, however, I think, is the next 6 months.
Yeah,
we've seen the explosion and the exposure from basically the opening of a market. So these guys came in when everything was hot and everybody was hot, and you just said online gaming, and people wet their pants and put their money down. It's now hit the reality trough, right? What can you do? It's not what you can promise. It's not Elon Musk. This is what you can do. So people are looking for that. So basically, Sportsbook has started off nicely. It's made a lot of nice partnership deals. It's now whether or not they can execute on a revenue generating status, which I think they can. It's just we'll see what happens. But the key driver for me is the Ontario gaming license, or the license that will allow it to be a provider within that space, because that opens up a huge domestic market and allows them to establish a footprint and really puts the rubber to the road, as it were. So at this point,
Moolah.
I'm going to wait.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm going to wait.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero to narrow.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, Michelle, you going to grab any of that gold out from behind you and
Oh, it's devalued already, man, you know, with the US dollar strength there, but I'll take some of it. I will maybe trade a bullion to buy some shares here. I will put down $2,000 in Tiidal. And the reason is I agree 100% with Galen. I actually do think the next 3 to 6 months are going to be very, very important for Tiidal, you know, the whole strategic change, but of course, with that major catalyst that the stock will need, hopefully something to do with the Ontario application. But, you know, from a technical side of things, I really, really like these type of setups where you have a range after a long downtrend. So I feel safe that, you know, I can put some money here at the bottom. Of course, you know, I've said it many times, I do historically like to see that ranges break. So I would be someone who would add more to the position, or if you're someone that's maybe waiting on the sideline, you know, jump in when you get that breakout above 12 cents. But I think this 7 cents level, which, you know, basically was record lows for the stock, has been holding up quite well as support for now. And I feel comfortable putting some money in. But again, that's from a technical aspect. I do agree 100% with Galen that, you know, those next months are going to be very, very important. And that will determine whether I add to my position or take some for profits.
All right, very nice. By the way, lunch. I was thinking
Chris just threw down 7,500. By the way, he's a betting man.
Yeah, the frozen guy. He always
He's
throws
a
in
betting
75.
man. He's in there all the way.
Very generous. He's yeah. By the way, lunch. I was thinking Istanbul. You know, it's
Oh,
nicest.
Jesus.
I know a bistro there. Nicest
Okay,
town
cool.
there. So we could get there for under 7,500.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, gents. I just want to let the folks out there know that there are no guarantees, and what we've said. Also, past performance, ranging, non-ranging, fluctuating, does not guarantee future results. So do your homework. Pay attention. Keep an eye on Tiidal Gaming, TIDL on the Canadian Exchange under Tom Hearn out of Toronto. Cool stuff, worth watching. And we're glad you joined us on this edition of the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.